right, so let's go ahead and test and install for a tutorial. So you just go to your terminal for your VPS provider. You're going to need to hit Control Shift and V to put in the command in plain text. It'll start running the installer. The provider I'm using right now is just Hostinger. You can use whichever one you want. I like them. They support ports for email and some stuff that other providers limit. And when I say limit, I mean they're trying to prevent spam, so you have to send them an email to get them to unblock it or open up a support ticket. They have like an AI chat agent that just goes through and does it. So, and you want to be on Ubuntu 24.04. That's what I recommend. So it's going to go through and install everything you'll need to make your portal work, so you can get out of having a just a terminal interface, which is what your VPS comes with if you get the cheap bare bones one. There are upsells. Some of them might give you a good price on a domain. I recommend using a domain for this anyway, so you're not going to some random, IP address. So pick up on that. But as far as like the other wrappers and stuff, I wouldn't pay more for somebody else's limited version of what you can do with OpenClaw. This will let you have more control. You can have your agent do whatever you want. You can use it like a computer. So, if you want to open up the remote desktop and see a Python app you made or something like that, you can do whatever you want. So we're almost done with these files. Olama is going to be kind of a big one. We do use Olama for a few of the features that are just like not worth spending money on with an API tokens, or quota for your subscription. So you can just run code checks or ask how to make a terminal command really simply using Olama. I did add support that you can set up if you're got your gaming PC on your Tailscale network. You can, just one command you can copy and paste and run, and you can remote use a GPU. That's what I use. But that way my OpenClaw agent doesn't have access to my whole gaming computer with all my personal files. We're going to go ahead and install OpenClaw is what we got going on here. This whole part, you can go grab a cup of coffee, come back later, or you can listen to me yap. And definitely if somebody wants to make a better tutorial video, go for it. I'm not a YouTuber. I just made this portal for me, and I thought that you might find it useful, so I decided I was going to share it for free. Because not all of us have an extra $5,000 to go out and buy a Mac Mini. It'd be nice if I could, but, they solder the hardware in there. You can't upgrade them. It's just get a VPS, get a good one. You can always transfer later. You can always, upgrade your server. It's a lot easier to let somebody else take all that risk of buying the hardware right now. All right, so we are ready to roll. So once it's installed, you get a one-time copy and paste link. So let's go ahead and put that in. And here's our wizard. So you can speedrun this install if you skip a bunch of setup. You can always come back and set it up later inside of the settings menu, but it's a lot easier to just go ahead and do it right. So as I said earlier, get a domain name. GoDaddy is where I got mine. You can get them pretty cheap. BridgesQuestions.com. All right. So once we get this in here, you're going to go ahead and see a bunch of settings to go ahead and set up on your domain. If you are going to do email, leave that tab open. Just go through, fill out the name, the value, pay special attention here to priority when it asks for that. And once you fill it out, it will take it about 10 minutes or so to propagate. So just, give it a couple minutes. You can use DNS Checker as a website. And once you start seeing green check marks, you're like 5-10 minutes away before it hits Caddy. So we go ahead and we check. As I said, I already had mine propagate. So we have resolves to us, points to our server. We're ready now to configure our HTTPS. So when we click this button, it's going to go ahead and generate a certificate so we can move to an encrypted or secure website. So we click that and we're good. Do not repeatedly run the setup wizard with the same one several times in a day. There are limits. Okay, and you can hit them if you run this like 5 times real quick. You'll get a cool off period for like a day. But here we hit next, and now we are on our website and we're locked up. Perfect. So let's do test. Let's put in an email address, support at BridgesLLM.com. All right, and test. 1, 2, 3. We're just doing quick. Sometimes this hangs if your server's empty or brand new, got no files on it. That's totally fine. Just hit refresh. It'll come up. Now, I highly recommend whichever AI provider you use, install the parity, the CLI version for them, Claude Code, Codex, whatever. For this one, we're going to be using ChatGPT. So just for a quick test. So I'll go ahead and install that. You can set these up pretty easy. You can either go in the terminal section and use terminal commands. You can open up remote desktop and terminal, and you can even tell your OpenClaw agent to set it up, and it'll just give you a link. You put it in your browser, and then you take the redirect link and you send it back. Once you have one of these set up, if your OpenClaw agent tries to do like surgery on itself and it makes an oops, way easier to recover because you just switch over to Claude Code. Also, your OpenClaw agent will delegate tasks to them that do not take up its memory or context window, and it can be really helpful. Sometimes you need a second opinion or kind of fix something. So here you get your portal identity. Name your server whatever you want. I'm not going to make you guys stick with my branding. If you want to keep it default, go for it. You can pick an accent color. Let's go purple. Upload an image for your logo. This will be your favicon and all that other stuff. You'll see it on mobile. So just pick something. I don't know. I got a random AI image there we'll go with. All right, security. I have this on default for approval. So that way, if you guys want to have your brother, your daughter, your wife, whoever share your portal with you, you can go ahead and approve them. You can sandbox them so they only see their own projects, their own files. You need to promote them to at least an admin role for them to interact with the agent chat section, because that runs raw on your server. It's not sandboxed to the projects. Hide from AI, or like hide from web crawler search engines. Just leave that off unless you want to go open where anybody can just I don't know. If you hate your VPS provider, I guess. So now we want to set up our email. Setting up an email server is going to help you get two-factor authentication emails. I have those auto-fill on iPhone and iPad. Super easy for me. Huge believer of two-factor authentication. If I accidentally dox myself in this, I'm sure you guys will test my faith. Password reset email, stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and hit set up email and let it run. Now, for password resets, when we set up OpenClaw, I'm going to say it again, but I'll say it twice. Definitely set up a communication channel. I use Discord, but use Telegram, Signal, whatever is supported. So here we've already set up our DNS records. I forgot to mention, you will have that screen I told you to leave open. You'll need to go through and put these in, okay? And it'll repopulate again, so you will need these before you can start receiving emails, but it can send them instantly. So we'll go ahead and test that. Let me check. And yeah, cool. Got it. All right, so that's up and working. Here's for Olama. It'll go through and give you a couple suggested models to pull. I recommend getting like 3. This is a test, server. I don't have much RAM on it, like 8. So we're just going to pull this. It's a teeny one. Also, do not use Olama really just to try to run OpenClaw on a VPS. They're going to think you're mining cryptocurrency and probably cut you off. All right, so we got that installed. We can hit next. This one here is probably going to take you a couple minutes to install a remote desktop. It's got to go through. There's a bunch of stuff it's got to do. I have it auto install Chrome for you. Cosmetic package, theme your icon, stuff like that. So while that's going, this will be our last major step. And again, if you want, you can skip this. Just go to feature readiness inside of the settings, and you can click one button for a script that will go through and do the same thing for you. But I just like to get it all done right from the start. All right. And then, like I was saying, because I'm kind of jumbling all over the place, again, if you make a better video, send it to me and it'll replace this one. Make sure you have a Discord, WhatsApp, something set up. You can message your agent and be like, hey, I lost my phone. I don't have two-factor authentication. My email's been hacked, whatever. And it will go through and reset you and give you your access back, okay? It can set like a one-time temp password or whatever, because your agent will be able to do whatever you want with this. I will be pushing updates. There's so much cool stuff out there I want to support. And this is something, as I said, it made for me. I've been using it for about a month, and I just prefer it so much over the OpenClaw web UI that I figured I would share it. So let's see here. If you guys want to help me out, there's a feature you think is missing and you really want it added, just go on the Discord, help me add it. Totally down, open to suggestions. Like I do want to add Agent Zero and a few other agent providers on here, things like that. Get better support for different features, different things. You can see the roadmap on the GitHub. All right, so here it went through, it did all this stuff, so now we're done. All right, so we tested everything. Telemetry is just going to let it know when you need an update and whether or not it should not update because your OpenClaw will not be supported and things like that, okay? You can turn it off if you really want to spend the full time reinstalling every time. But all right, so here we go. So now we're in the portal. First thing we're going to do, let's go to the terminal section. Let's click OpenClaw onboard to set that up. All right, so let me see here. All right, so I am going to speed run this setup here. There's a million guides on how to set up OpenClaw. Do use existing values though, okay? The portal requires certain permissions and settings on OpenClaw, and if you delete those values, you're going to have to, again, use Discord or something to tell it to go ahead and fix. Normally I would say do the authentication token. I'm so used to doing that. I'm just going to do an API key that I can burn real quick instead of actually doing that here though. So quick start, use existing values, API key. Oh, you can copy and paste into this terminal here, okay? So that's a really helpful tip. When you're using these terminals too, you need to like right click and copy and paste. Try and control V and stuff just doesn't work, okay? Somewhere out there somebody's gonna say, I wish I heard that 5 minutes earlier when I was trying to copy and paste. Let's just do 5.4. Let's set that up. Let's not do Telegram bot is the one that everybody really likes. I like Discord though. All right, we're just gonna skip a lot of this stuff. You should go through and configure this all, but this will work well for what we're doing. All right, we can hatch it here. Let's go ahead and see it work. And this will open our main session main. All right, cool. Looks like he just came online. So let's go here and let's test him out. So we'll give this here a second to load. Here's our session. Okay, we can see he read some files and now here he is up online. Okay, so we can go back here to this website, and if you go to the bottom, I did leave a prompt. If you want, you can make your own. This prompt here will kind of tell him how to interact with the portal and how it works, things like that. So if you've been using an AI provider for a long time, you can ask it to help you write a prompt for a personal AI agent too, and that'll kind of help. Cool thing about this is once you get this set up, you'll never be in the middle of a project and then all of a sudden, Frontier model comes out with an update on another provider and you want to switch from Gemini to Anthropic or something like that, and it kind of sucks. With this, all your memories, all your files get preserved, and you can just come over here and switch the brain, and I didn't really set up a whole bunch, but cool. So that is working. Let's test and make sure it's got tool use access. So how long has the server been up? And if you want, you should style these. I'm not trying to ship a bunch of assets and stuff. I don't want you guys to do your own, but you can just pick an image here like this, save it, bam, there's your agent. Okay, cool. So it was able to see how long our server's been up. That was last night when I was doing some testing. That is an accurate number. We can see it was using the tool to figure that out. Give me a for something cool. All right, so let's just do this real quick. See if that works. Cool. So it looks like it is thinking through that. Well, that is working. We can come here to our projects, because I did try to design this around multitasking as much as possible. And let's add a project. So you can let's just clone a GitHub repo real quick for a game that I have already made before. Bam. All right, so we can come here. We can see the files. We'll have a Git history. You can preview HTML and kind of see layouts and things like that. But let's go ahead and deploy it, and let's see if it works. Cool. And this works great. All right, cool. So that works. So let's exit out of that. You can share these too. You can make public or passworded links, email them, and other people can use the app that you just built. So we know that works. Let's check email. Cool. So the admin, the person who sets it up, you're going to get a personal email. Everybody who's a user is going to get a personal email, but the admin will have a no reply and a support email. Okay. Let's go here. Let's see chat. So we do have a code preview. I did collapse the boxes. The last thing I hate is getting blown up with so much code that you can't even scroll up or down. You can expand it if you want, but you can just collapse it back. And then you can preview it. Okay. And you can even expand out the preview if you wanted. Interactive mouse. Wow, that's very cool. All right, well, he did what he was supposed to. So everything here looks like it works. Oh, remote desktop. Let's check that. Let's make sure that's up. Cool. Here's your remote desktop. You click this. You got a fresh version of Chrome. It'll ask you to log in. Sick. All right. File browser. Perfect. If you want, you can just use this like a computer, all right? You can just do that. Bam. So that helps too, especially if you want to see files he made. we have a file section here. You can upload files, and they just download. They're here. You can manage them, you know, stuff like that. When you're talking to the agent, if you want to send them files, they'll also appear here. So think of it kind of like your own personal Dropbox. It definitely helps for managing things, especially if you say like, hey, make me this report. Hey, build me this thing. Doing this helps. Or, Sandboxed agents. Let's check that out. So the first time you open this up, it can take a minute. Okay, it's opening up a Docker container. It is sandboxing the agent to it and all of that good stuff. So when you use this chat for agents, this is a personal agent just for this project. He can't see anything else. So it makes it a lot safer where you can just be a little vague when you need to. You can say something like, make the buttons bigger, and you don't need to worry that he's going to go through and just destroy everything you've ever built. All right. So, check the sound for bugs. All right, and we could do it on Codex, but let's just do this one here. All right, and bam. So that's how easy it is. Let me see here if we want to try out maybe another project that is a little bit bigger. So while he's doing that, let's just clone a different repo here. All right, this is another project I made that was for my son asked me if I wanted to 100% Pal World with him. And that game is mechanics layered on top of each other. So you can see here I have a different agent than if I go here. So they're totally safe. And if I want to deploy this is a little bit more complex. Cool. You can see it all works. I can go and see the item library or every PAL or, you know. All right. So that's cool. All the different files here also have previews that have kind of thought out. So if you want to preview a sound, you can, but if you don't want to preview a sound and you wanted to preview, let's see, a picture, you can do that. But if you click on like a markdown file, you can read that. Now, the way these sandbox agents work is they only have files in their directory, so it'll automatically create a memory file and a couple other things for them with this .agent stuff. And we can even see over here, he's already started changing some stuff. And then you can go through and you can view, you know, changes if you want, stuff like that. Go here, view difference, and it'll load it all. So normally there's two screens so you can compare, but this was just putting everything in. So it's like having your own GitHub. There is a one-click revert button too, where you can just click it and it'll go back. Safe to make changes. So with these files, if you want to download, this first one will download everything. Same thing. You can pass it from portal to portal. You know, it'll download all the agent files, all of that. This one right here just strips out common junk files, okay? So most markdowns are just junk that are in there, and it'll take those out, README, stuff like that. This last one here, use with caution. If you're like me and you have a lot of files that maybe have, well, gosh, I doubt I see any now. Let's say you have a file and it's got like a bunch of comments in it, like this, left over from agents kind of working on it and stuff like that, or you left some notes, it'll strip all those comments out. So that way it's just a totally clean, light file that it's just the bare minimum for it to work. So that's why those are three different options there. And again, if you don't like it, you can change it. You can collapse your sidebar here. You can get that out for full, you know, preview if you wanted to do this. We can do that. If you do preview here, you can actually preview markdown files. A lot of different things you can actually preview. Took a lot of time to set that up. Your terminal here, some of the features here is over here we have common commands to look up. There are warnings if you try to do a dangerous command that you have to click through. AI debugger, this here, you're gonna have to go into settings, go to Llama and set this up, and you're going to want to set up your agent for these different things. All right, you set that up, so then when you're here, if you click on this, you can actually ask it questions and it'll run. If this is just if you just have a basic question, if you need the question answered about context in the window, make context aware, and it'll send the context and with the prompt to a llama. There are a lot of different settings here that you can go through and set up. Like I said, set up some pictures, have some fun with it, theme it out, change your accent. I don't know why I added a light mode. I guess I can make all the monsters out there happy. Admin dashboard is where you can kind of control if you want to change to open, approve. Let's close because there's no point. Here on your dashboard, where you load in, you're going to get your server stats. You'll see if your OpenClaw is connected. You can always click refresh to see if there's an update and update some things on here. It'll also unstuck OpenClaw if the connection's failed. And if the refresh here doesn't work, there will be a button backup script to kind of help get OpenClaw back connected to the portal. Haven't needed either. Seems really robust to me. You can come through here. You're going to see whatever, if you get an error, system stuff. I do have an error system down here. It's sometimes you'll get API errors if the page is refreshing or something like that, but this really does help with diagnosing stuff and getting it to your agent if for some reason you hit an error. I don't get them very often. They do have sounds though, and you can turn them off here if you don't like the sounds that the portal has. That's really about it for just a quick walkthrough guide, easy setup tutorial. Things that I didn't do that you definitely should do is set up OpenClaw on your subscriptions, the O tokens. Look that up. Do it when you do. Personally, I have the high tier plans for all three providers. I have Claude Code, Codex, and Gemini all on here as well. So when I'm in the agent chats, I'm switching and might have Codex do something versus OpenClaw and stuff like that, and switching around Gemini and all that good stuff. Agent Zero I haven't quite figured out yet, because I do have this like preload all the different slash commands, but it's loading them from the actual provider, stuff like that. So I got to figure out all the quirks of it to get it up here and running. But I'm excited to see what you guys can do with it and have some fun. And thanks so much for watching. So if you really could, share it with a friend, share the website, share the video, something like that. I'm not charging for it. I just think it'd be really cool if I helped a bunch of people out. So later.